Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. My guest today is the Bitcoin Nomad family, NoMadPodcast. We have Janis on from the Bitcoin Nomad family. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing well. So we got connected because I really like what you're doing in terms of nomadic family and the crypto component to it too. Where are you based these days?
I'm currently based in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
but because I'm a nomad, I always travel a lot. So maybe next time I will be based in Europe somewhere or US because I also travel a lot to the US. But wherever I am, that's my base and that's my home. So yeah, but currently I'm in the UK.
Currently in the UK. I'm not hearing a British accent though. So what's the quick story?
Um, well, so is my accent not British? I always try to be British, but so I'm originally from Switzerland,
Mm-hmm.
and I also have roots from Austria and Italy. But yeah, we left Switzerland like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
No, 3 years ago. Sorry, 3 years ago. When this whole pandemic scam happened and this whole lockdowns and imprisoning people and taking rights away from people, we said we had enough and we decided to be nomads, travel around the world. Of course, it's not always easy. It's never easy as a nomad, but yeah, ever since then, since 3 years, we have been nomads, and I like it. I'm a guy who gets around with people easily. I also talk a lot with people. That's my strong side. I go to people and ask them how they are, what's their name, what's their nationality, and yeah. Ever since then, we've been happily living a nomadic lifestyle in a sense.
I love it. And so if you don't mind me asking, the family unit, what do we got? Like how many kids are we talking?
So, so it's me, my brother, and my parents. So we are four people. Um, Two boys and yeah, my dad obviously, and yeah, that's.
Okay, so no kids yet. How old are you?
I'm 20, mate. I don't have kids yet. Did you thought
Okay.
I have kids?
Yeah, I was thinking it was like a nomad family with the kids, but okay, so it's like, so that means your
No.
parents are into crypto as well, I'm guessing, and
Yeah,
Bitcoin. So your parents hold crypto too?
yeah. So should I share my rabbit hole story in a sense and how I got into Bitcoin then?
Please.
Or so it's really a funny story. It's I would say similar to most of the stories that you hear out there. But the first person in our family who was into Bitcoin was my brother. My brother's 9 years older than me, so he's currently 29. He just turned 29 a few days ago,
Hmm.
and I will turn 20 by the way this year. So I'm a still young guy, I would say. But
Hmm.
yeah, he was first into Bitcoin, and when I was like, what do you mean? What is this digital money thing? Crypto? What's that? And that was like 2015-ish, 14-ish. And my mom was an ex-banker, and she was always skeptic and was like, oh, no, that's just a scam. Don't trust that crypto stuff or Bitcoin stuff. And because he was my brother, I kind of listened to him and thought that, well, that's kind of cool, show me more. And that's like the first time when I heard about crypto and Bitcoin. And back then I was like, 2015. I was like 10, 11 years old. I was really young, and I never talked about it. I mean, why should I talk about that stuff in school? Because first, I didn't knew much, and second, why should I just do that, right? And pretty much 2019, 2020, my whole family got into it because of the pandemic. And during the pandemic, we had like a lot of time to do research and to do all kind of stuff, and I loved it from a mathematical aspect because I like maths, and also the engineering side of like miners, Bitcoin miners, and all that stuff. That's what I liked mostly about it. And yeah, then I got into it. I read the white paper, as you can see
Hmm.
behind me, and yeah, that's my rabbit hole story. And ever since then, I got into Bitcoin. I bought my first Bitcoin like 2021, I think. And yeah, and then obviously the podcast came into place like last, I think 2023. Yeah, like 2 years, no, 1.5 years ago, somewhere around there. And yeah, that's my rabbit hole story, basically, how I got into Bitcoin and crypto.
That's awesome. And if I didn't, for the audience, fully emphasize this, you have the podcast. Is the official name the Bitcoin Nomad Family Podcast or Nomad Podcast?
It's Nomad Podcast, but we
Nomad
call
Podcast.
ourselves the Bitcoin Nomad
Bitcoin
family.
Family
Yeah.
Nomad Podcast. You've interviewed Gustavo from Swapido, who's also been on the My Latin Life podcast. Swiss Hodler recently, who I've seen around Twitter. How many episodes in total have you had?
Ever since, so we have two shows. We have the English show, which has like 42 episodes published,
Mm-hmm.
and the German show, which has like 25 episodes published. If
Mm-hmm.
that's right, I hope so. But not a lot yet, but still a long way to go. But uh, somewhere around there, yeah.
Love it. And what was the reason for the podcast? You just felt like you wanted to share what you were learning, or have you got any sponsors?
Okay, so I thought so that question will come, but my brother is, so he has also a podcast called Rabbit Hole Stories,
Mm-hmm.
and he started that like 2021, I believe, and because he always recorded his podcast with his co-host Ian, I was like, "What are you actually doing? Are you recording a podcast?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I asked my mom, because I'm doing the podcast with my mom. I was like, "Mom, should we also give this a try?" And basically, my brother was like an inspiration to me. So yeah,
Mm.
that was kind of the reason why we started the podcast. It was just because my brother did it, and I thought, let's give it a try and do it as well. So
Nice. And what do you use to record?
I use, so camera wise or also system wise, like
Well, because we use
software wise.
Zencaster as the
Okay.
podcast recording software that we're on now. Do you use Riverside, something else?
Yeah, I use Riverside because for me it's for me Riverside is perfect because I can record and also edit at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
using the software. And camera wise, I use my phone as I do now, or what I sometimes also do if I have to, I just use the camera from my MacBook, or I also have a DJI camera, just like I have the mics here from DJI. That's kind of the stuff I use because it's mobile, because we travel a lot. I also need light equipment
Yeah.
because I don't want to have like a, I don't know, 20 pounds camera in my backpack. But I use DJI mainly and Riverside as the software.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to another podcaster, and I asked him like, "What do you do for the mic?" Because my mic takes up a lot of space, and I think
Yeah.
we had the same mic. This is what's it called? Audio Technica ATX, something like that. And
Yeah.
I said like, the box takes up so much room, and they're like, "Oh, we don't travel with the box. We just like put the mic in like a
Yeah.
sleeve." And I'm like, "Oh my god, why have I been traveling with the box? Just put the mic in a sleeve." So, so yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Sometimes I actually also have like a mic in a box, but I most of the time only take that with me if I'm gone like for a very long time. Let's say if I travel like to the US for like a month, I take that with me
hmm
if in case I need to record something and I want better, because the disadvantage with mics like those I have now is sometimes the audio, and if it's windy, because I also did interviews like in conferences where it was
hmm
really windy, and I used that one, and then the audio was really bad, right? Or
hmm
if it was loud, right? But most of the time, if I like short travel, I use those ones because it's the simplest and the lightest. So
Let's talk about some more of the travel stuff and spending crypto. So, Bitrefill is a sponsor of the My Latin Life podcast. They've been a sponsor for a long time, and they help people spend crypto through gift cards and other means. What do you do? Do you spend your crypto, or do you spend mostly in fiat? Do you make a concerted effort to spend in crypto?
50-50, I would say, because let's be honest, mate, we still live in a fiat world and in a fiat system. And of course, if I have the opportunity to spend Bitcoin or crypto or Lightning, like sats, for example, in a coffee shop or generally in a shop, I will do it. But because we still have a fiat standard, I have to spend some of the stuff like traveling. If I
Mhm.
travel to another country, the plane ticket, I can't pay that in Bitcoin, right? I have
I
to pay
think
it
there
in
are ways
fiat.
now.
So
I think there's some cool
are there?
platforms, yeah, where you can buy your flights with crypto.
Okay, maybe you have to show me that afterwards. But
Yeah, I don't know
no,
how the
because that.
refunds work and stuff, but you can definitely buy the flight.
But I would say it's 50-50, and there are some cool alternatives, to the. I would so I would say to the regular banks, because we have like neobanks, right? But we also have crypto banks now, like Sapo Bank, for example. Or if you want to use an exchanger like Crypto.com or whatever exchanger there is, then they also have cards, like a debit card option. There you go. You can also use that. But just then the disadvantage for that is you need a address. You need to live like in a you need to have a resident, and if you don't have that, that's sometimes a little bit hard, But there are some options now where you actually don't need that, and yeah, I think Sapo Bank or generally like other crypto banks, as they call those, or
Mhm,
exchanges, which are really cool. But for me personally, always do your own work. Don't trust verify, proof of work, right? Always do your own research. Don't just, I
mhm,
mean, of course, you can listen to a podcast where they explain all of that, but
mhm,
always do your own research and go into detail by yourself.
mhm.
But
Do you use Sapo Bank?
uh, no, I will probably I will open an account there maybe, but not yet. But I will probably do in like future times.
I saw there was a thing where they're raising the annual fee, uh, like insanely. Like I think it was very
Yeah,
cheap before, and now it's going to be over $1,000 a year for the account, something like that.
hmm that's mostly the main issue I think with generally. If you want to be crypto or Bitcoin friendly, you will always have like regulations which cut through that, right? And also other aspects like if you have employees, how will you pay them, right? And also they have to be paid. So
Mhm,
I guess fees wise, yes, it's not nice, but if you look at the product and overall, and also what they give you and how you can use that, I would say it's justified. But of course some people will not be happy about it, like spending like I don't know how many bucks on like fees. And but fees will always be there, there will never ever be no fees, I would say. But
mhm,
as long as they low as long as they are low, I think it's okay. But if they get higher, yeah, sure, maybe it's not so nice, but we can't change that, right? So but yeah.
mhm. And are you doing anything else for spending Bitcoin? Any tips you'd want to share?
I mean, there are some great wallets like Aqua Wallet. Um, if you if you're European, you can also use Relay, Relay app, which I also had the CEO of my podcast of Relay. Julian Lineker is his name. Relay
Mhm.
is really great, but
How do you spell that? Just normal RELAY?
no Y, I at the end
I.
instead of Y, I.
Relay app
Relay app.
crypto. Okay, and this is specifically for Europeans.
Yeah, currently, yes, I think so. Still, if you're like in the US, I don't think so. You gonna have like
Right, so
you
basically
can't download
anyone
it in the
except
US.
Americans. Okay,
Yeah,
so buy
yeah.
Bitcoin and hold your own keys with ease and simplicity. Join 100,000 others using Relay and start your Bitcoin journey. Okay, seems pretty solid.
So I would say for international purposes like Aqua Wallet or Exodus, I also use Exodus. Um, but yeah, Exodus, Aqua Wallet, and for Europeans Relay, because for me
What's
those three
Exodus?
are
How do I look that up? So
Exodus Wallet.
EXODUS wallet.
Yep.
Okay.
Exodus wallet is a custodial, self-custodial, I think, wallet, and it's pretty cool. You have like multiple currencies: Ripple, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and you can
Hmm.
just buy Bitcoin or buy XRP or whatever, and hold also your Bitcoin. And but those are kind of like the options I use, and I kind of like them, So, and I also
Okay.
kind of like them because of the design, and the colors, not because of the purpose, but that's a different story. But yeah, I would
Hmm.
I would if people really would want a wallet in Europe, I would say Relay, and if they want like international ones, Aqua Wallet or Exodus.
Okay, cool. So that's wallets. And then beyond wallets, like what else would you have in your stack as a traveling Bitcoiner?
Lightning wallets like Wallet of Satoshi, Moon Wallet, Phoenix, Mutiny Wallet, Toys. Those are all of those are kind of like Lightning wallets where you can stack sats and also pay in sats or pay in Bitcoin even.
Mhm.
Blink Wallet from El Salvador is also really cool. Those guys do some amazing work. I actually need to ask them for like a podcast episode once, maybe. Yeah, maybe I will do that afterwards. But yeah, kind of those options. So nothing special, just more Lightning wallets and more generally paying methods. If you, of course, can pay in crypto or Bitcoin or Lightning, whatever. But
Okay, cool. And what do you actually do to earn the money to buy the crypto while you're traveling? You have like a remote job or other remote income streams?
so I'm self-employed, so I do whatever I can to get my money. Um, and yeah, I'm self-employed. I do so. Sometimes I write articles and get paid for those, or sometimes I do certain stuff like. So I'm really into IT and editing and video uploading. So I sometimes do stuff there, and yeah, and it's not much, but for me it's enough, right? And I'm always with my family, so that's also really cool if you have like a family which backs you up, and you can travel with your family and don't always have to worry about certain things, right? But once you get like older and maybe want to have your own life, then there maybe I have to change some things. But currently I'm self-employed and just do whatever I have to do to make my living. Yeah.
Okay, so some video editing. What else? Just to give people an ideas.
Video editing. I write articles on Substack. Uh, I help my mom a little bit with her company and stuff, but that's all. So
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by job stacking. If you're a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Haltze, author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income by implementing his paycheck multiplication layering method. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, if you're interested in unleashing your earning potential and doubling your income, then click the link in the description and book a call with Rolf right now. Okay, cool. And the Substack, which one is that? Is that for you or is that for other people?
uh, that's for everyone. So everyone can access my Substack and read my articles on Substack. Mostly they're political. Mostly they're Bitcoin focused or crypto focused. Like the recent one I wrote was about Trump signing like orders about his what was that about how he wants to use like crypto as what was that about? Was something about Trump who wants to use crypto as like backing the dollar or something. That doesn't matter. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, just write those articles and substacks, and people can read them. And
Okay.
yeah,
So is that making some money now?
yeah, that's it helps me a lot. I mean, it's not much, but for me, it's a lot. So
Sweet. And you make the money from the subscriptions?
yeah, and from the because there are certain subscriptions and Substack where you can pay, and there are some free ones, and for some of them you have to pay, and some of them you. So I keep
Right.
it
And the
open. I
free
have
ones
like the
make money too, right? Like the free ones make money from
yeah,
like
because of
ads or something,
the views.
the
Yeah, and the
views.
views. But yeah, that's
Yeah, we had a guy way back on the podcast, a European guy who basically made his entire travel money from Substack. He was making like thousands of dollars a month from writing sort of travel related articles on Substack.
mm, yeah. But I'm currently thinking actually of making it free for everyone because personally, I think knowledge is free, it's borderless, and no one ever should pay for knowledge if they want to know more, right? And I actually have thought about it making it free so that everyone can read it and that there are not certain things that people don't can access, right? If they because I don't want people to pay for stuff. I mean, it helps me, right? Don't get me wrong, it benefits me at the end, but I will just say as a heads up, I will make it free for everyone so that everyone can read it because for me it's like a side thing anyway. But yeah, it's a cool tool if you're like a self-employed journalist or want to write about something. You can make money with it. But
Hmm. And how do you choose your destinations, like where you guys are spending time as a family? Are your parents more setting that, or are you guys setting it, or is it a bit of both?
I would say my parents definitely. My parents kind of sometimes choose the location, but I already said like, hey, do you want to try something else? Do you want to go more to the east or to like Middle East or like South, like let's say Spain or something? And we kind of always, it's like I would say 50-50, but most of the time my parents do it. But other days I decide, or sometimes my brother decides. And but yeah, it depends on the occasion, I would say. But
Okay. And what's the travel style? Are you doing like 1 month Airbnbs or hotels or something
uh,
else?
depends. Sometimes hotels, sometimes Airbnbs, and yeah, it really depends on the situation. Or if, like for example, when we were in Hawaii in the US, we rented like a house for like a month
Hmm.
because for us it was like, why should we stay like in a hotel for a month? First of all, it's expensive, and second of all, like you know, I have a house to myself where I have like my own room and right, and yeah, but it really depends. Sometimes hotels, like for a few days, I would say hotels, but for like longer, flat house or Airbnb, whatever, right? So, but yeah, that's how we do it.
Okay. So mostly Airbnb sounds like.
Yeah, because it's the most relaxed. You already have all the furnitures and the only thing I always have to take with me is the white paper, the Bitcoin white paper. I sometimes put it in my suitcase, but that's the only thing: clothes and white paper and camera stuff and laptop. That's like the most important for me.
But
My
you can't be
MacBook and my
traveling in that
phone.
one. That one's framed.
Yes, I can. I can put it in my suitcase, like in a big one.
Okay. You put it on like the bottom of the suitcase
Mm.
and then put the
Yeah,
clothes on top. So you
yeah.
travel
So
with the
it's protected.
framed white paper.
Yeah, it's the most dearest thing to me. So next to my cameras and laptop. So, but yeah,
Okay. And why is it so dear to you?
because it's a sign of freedom. You know, it's a sign of something new, and especially for me as a guy who is not always a big fan of certain people making money off war. And personally, it's also a perfect tool to orange pill people or to show people alternatives to a fiat standard. So
Hmm.
but yeah, for me, mainly Bitcoin and crypto generally is like a anti-war money because how many wars did we have because of a fiat standard? Because of some guys in a office deciding to invade like countries or bomb certain countries out of nowhere or based on lies, like we had in Iraq or Libya, right, where the U.S. government just bombed like those countries in the Middle East to absolutely zero and took all of their oil, gold, and everything and destroyed most of the Middle East, right? They all did that because of fiat, because of the fiat standard that we live in, and because they can print tons of money. And for me, generally, Bitcoin and crypto is like the perfect anti-war money. Even if a state adapts it and makes money off of that, yeah, sure. But for me, as I said, anti-war money, and no one can use it for those purposes.
And what do you mean they did it for fiat or because of fiat?
I mean, when you look at the Fed and how that was created, and after the Fed was created, how many wars we had.
Uh-huh.
Even if you look at after the gold standard was abolished in 1971 by Reagan, how many wars did we have there after that? Like the moment they abolished something or created something to benefit them, they also they didn't create something to benefit the system. They created something to benefit them and their pockets. And if you look at the fact that mostly, Lindsey Graham is a perfect example. He's a Republican senator, and he is like really into uh, weapons production. He has like companies which produces weapons and sends them to Ukraine and to war zones, right? And he takes benefit of that system, that fiat system that we live in, right? And prints tons of money to buy more weapons and sell more weapons, right? So that's kind of what I mean, that they benefit of fiat, and that due to fiat and fiat money like the dollar or euro, that we have more wars, and especially to the Fed, right? Which if you look at the history of the Fed, there are like tons of good books about that. But after the Fed basically
The
was
creature
created,
from Jekyll
we had
Island, I
like,
think, is the most famous one.
yeah. I mean, after that was created, we had like tons of wars, and really tons of wars and horrible wars as well. So,
And do you think
but
that's
yeah,
just because a fiat money system makes it
oh yeah.
easier to finance wars, like makes it easier to
Oh yeah.
essentially borrow money? Do you think that's the main reason, or do you think there's some sort of other reason other than access to capital? This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys.
I would argue mainly because of fiat, because they can print as much money as they want, in
Uh-huh.
a sense, since we don't have a gold standard anymore, right? So
Uh-huh.
I would definitely argue because of fiat, yeah, because they can do whatever they want and they can benefit and
Yeah. But wars
fill
have
their own
always
pockets.
been financed by running deficits, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and so there's all, as long as there's been sort of nation states or even like kingdoms and stuff, they've been able to access capital by borrowing money. So fiat just makes it a
Yeah.
little bit easier because you don't have to go directly to the financial markets sometimes to like borrow the money. But I don't I don't know if just because we have a fiat system and because it's easier to finance war that you get more of it. I mean, I guess sort of that would make sense. Whatever's, but is but I don't know. I'm just pushing back a little bit on you here.
Well, yeah, sure, but at the end of the day, for me, everyone who still wants to live in a system that is corrupt and just takes money out of your pocket, as we saw with USAID, which literally used taxpayers' monies for governments, to finance governments, to finance certain politicians, like we had in the US with Joe Biden, and certain rich guys like George Soros. Sure, if people want to live in that system, go on. But I said myself and our family, we really discussed this deeply. We said, listen, we're getting out of that system because we want to live free. We want to live in a society where we experience most of our lives. And ever since we did that, we're like happy, for the first time ever. Because before we were never happy. And we once you get out of that system, oh gosh, I can't believe I said this. Once you get out of the matrix, in a sense, nothing can stop you. If you see all the the tricks how the world functions, for me personally, you have already won. And in a sense, the world is also a better place if we wouldn't have wars. But we have wars, right? And you need to have like thoughts on that. Why do we have wars? Why do we have a system that's not always fair, right? Why do we have rich and poor? Why is there left or right? And once you get that, it's like nothing can stop you anymore. It's like you're like on this train which just keeps on going. So
Hmm. And so you think if Bitcoin was more widely adopted, there would be less war?
yeah, I believe so. Generally, I mean, yeah, sure, they can buy Bitcoin and sell it, using that money to finance the army or whatever, or finance another war. But
Hmm.
if majority of people own Bitcoin or generally own crypto, there's nothing the state can do, especially since crypto and Bitcoin is like really decentralized. I mean, there are
Hmm.
certain tokens which aren't, but Bitcoin is like the perfect decentralized token, and the state really can't track you in a sense, as they most of the time can with fiat, or if you have a credit card, or if you have a bank account, or if you have these or that. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. I mean, if they had less access to capital, they'd probably think twice about it for sure.
Hmm? Yeah, I mean, probably, yeah.
What are some of the coolest destinations that you've been to so far as a family?
Oh, I would say definitely Hawaii. And then after Hawaii, I would say Madeira, because I've been to Madeira. And then Paris. Oh, wait, no, no. I would say UK, then Paris, then, oh, no, fuck. That's so hard, dude. Okay, Hawaii, Madeira, UK, Austria, so Vienna, and then Paris, and then we also been to like, um, I've also been to Prague, but yeah. So it's not really easy, but those are kind of like my favorites. So I mean, the US is always nice. I've never been to Mexico before, and Brazil. I still want that to. That's still like on my bucket list. But yeah. So US, UK, Madeira. So that's kind of like the spots that I really liked.
I recommend it. I mean, lower cost of living for sure. I don't know what you guys are doing in the UK in February. It's pretty cold up there.
It's actually okay. It's not that. I mean, I'm used to the cold because I was raised and born in Switzerland. So, but it's weather is nice. Weather's fine. I mean, sometimes it rains, sometimes it's sunny. So
Mhm. So I guess you've been going to a bunch of the crypto and Bitcoin conferences, right? You interviewed Michael
yeah,
Saylor, I believe, at one of the conferences.
yeah,
Um, so you hitting, is that something you're like consciously doing, kind of hitting the conference circuit, networking, getting some podcasts done, meeting
yeah.
people? What are you looking to get out of your time spent at the conferences?
So conferences mainly for me are for networking, and of course also to educate yourself more, or to see like new projects, or like new wallets that are coming out, or new exchanges that are coming out, right? um, but mainly for me it's networking. It's all about it's always about networking. If you know the finance world, you also know that most of the time people are networking in those worlds, right? And when I go to conferences, I sometimes do interviews, I sometimes do like networking, and ask people, hey, you want to join my podcast? It's my podcast. And I mean, I will also be on stage at Plan B in Lugano in Switzerland.
Mm.
that's also mainly a thing. Like if you can go to a conference and get on stage, like that's also again networking and marketing, right? But mainly for me, it's like networking and podcasting and interviewing. So far,
So,
it's always has worked out. So
so on stage, meaning, are you joining a panel or are you giving a talk?
I'm giving a talk. I don't want to kind of spoil too much what the talk is about, but yeah, I'm giving a talk.
Okay. Oh, come on. You got to give us something here. When is it? When is the Switzerland conference?
Plan B, Plan B in Ghana. Ooh, I think in autumn, in November. I think October, November, somewhere around there. Um, yeah. So if you want to buy tickets, buy them now because they're always like gone in like instantly, you know. So but yeah, in November, October, I think this year.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So it's in Lugano, Switzerland, which is like the Italian part of
Yep.
Switzerland.
Yeah. The beautiful part of Switzerland, I would argue,
Because you
but yeah.
you're from the German part.
Yeah, I'm from the German part. The more political part, I would argue. I mean, I'm from the capital, Bern, and that's like politicians everywhere. Like if you go to a coffee shop, like Starbucks, like around the corner, there's always a politician there, or like lawyers, or but yeah, Bern is kind of like a hotspot for politicians and corruption, you know. But yeah.
Okay. And so if people want to go, if I want to go, I think I'm gonna be in Europe at that time. So what's the secret? Where should I stay in Lugano? Should I what's the best way to do the conference?
I mean, there's some nice Airbnbs, there's some nice hotels. Um, Personally, I would recommend if you're more like up in the hills because there are like some nice houses or apartments that you can rent because Lugano has like a beautiful sky view of like the sea and the city generally. But yeah, I would argue like 10 minutes from the city, maybe from like city center, but higher, you know. So there's a lot of cool hotels. I mean, the view is like a nice hotel. Um, then there's also one in the city, like a city hotel, but you have to choose at the end of the day. And the cool thing, in certain hotels, you can already pay with Bitcoin or crypto in
Mm,
generally, like Tether, I think.
hmm.
And yeah, so
Cool. And I always wanted to go to the Campione d'Italia, the like exclave, the Italian exclave in
mhm.
Switzerland, which is like that's like right there in Lugano, and I think it's like
Yeah,
kind of a casino hub and stuff. And who knows,
yeah,
maybe it'll become a crypto hub.
yeah. It already has in a sense, but there's still a lot of work to do. I mean, just because like there's like one city accepting Bitcoin, it doesn't mean that like it's already everywhere. So but Lugano is like the perfect example of how you can in like not even in 1 year like have like 200 shops which accept Bitcoin and crypto in generally.
Hmm.
But because it went like from two shops to like 10 and then from 10 to like 50 and then from 50 to like 200, you know. So but yeah,
In Lugano.
maybe yeah.
Interesting. And my understanding is it's become a lot easier for Europeans to move to Switzerland. Like that, like pretty much anyone with the EU passport can move to Switzerland. I don't know if you need like a job invitation, probably something like that. Do you know anything about that?
No, not really. And personally, Switzerland is nice, but I would not always recommend it if you're because for me, pretty much, although Switzerland claims to be a neutral country, they're not really neutral. Let's be honest with that. If they would be neutral, then they wouldn't have sent money to Ukraine, or would have applied for joining NATO, as they did, literally. Or be like, although Switzerland is a neutral country, and we even had like elections about that to stay neutral, the Bundesrat, those 7 people which rule Switzerland, still want to apply for EU to join EU, and you know, in a sense, Switzerland is not neutral anymore. And for me, I would not recommend to move to Switzerland personally, but if people want that, sure, fine enough. Just because of the backgrounds that I know that I have experienced from living there for like 17 years.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you want to move there, sure, fair enough. But I just telling you right now, in my opinion, I wouldn't do it. But everyone can choose what they want to do in their lives. I'm not here to judge stuff or to tell people not to do what they, have to do. But
What
yeah.
have been some of your biggest epiphanies leaving Switzerland about how things work or how people are in different places?
Well, Switzerland, first of all, it always starts with the history of Switzerland. Always claiming to be neutral, which they're not, because if you look at all these institutions which are in Switzerland, which first of all don't pay taxes, like the WHO doesn't pay taxes, has its headquarters in Geneva, UNICEF as well. And when you also look at the fact that we had like so many terrorists or like rich guys which were known to be bad people having accounts in Switzerland, bank accounts in Switzerland. Or if you look at the story of Switzerland during World War II, how they literally helped the Nazis, sorry for saying like that, steal like all the wealth of the Jews. I mean, there were so many Jewish people during World War II who came to Switzerland with all their companies, and the Swiss government literally, and that's not a conspiracy, that's a fact. But those companies for one symbolic Swiss franc and gave all the wealth to the Nazis from the Jews, And that's well known, but in Switzerland we don't really talk about that because Swiss people always think of themselves as, oh, we're the best, we're the greatest, we're the neutrals, right? We're the world in the world, right? We're like the number one. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're pretty much like a whore of Europe, helping terrorists, and um, that's kind of, if you know those stories, it gives you a weird feeling, and it also shows you how the world functions, especially in Switzerland. But gosh, I hope you're not gonna, I hope you're not gonna get banned because of me now or something. But yeah, that's kind of, if you live in Switzerland and you know those views and you know those aspects, then it's a different story. But if you want to live there, it's a beautiful country. It's nice. Just know that it's not perfect. That's all I have to say about that. So.
Hmm. No, I think Switzerland bashing is allowed.
I hope so.
We want people from the West to set up a plan A or plan B in Latin America. So, part of that is coming to terms with how, the West is in decline and things are getting a bit
Yeah,
more
yeah,
tyrannical. And it just keeps making more and more sense to have a plan B.
yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Plan Bitcoin. No, and if you also look at the fact that for years we have always been pointing fingers at Russia or China or at like Latin America. Oh, don't go to those countries. Those are like third world countries. They're not beautiful. They're like dirty. And now I have realized that that's not the case. I went to those countries. I mean, Latin America, I didn't go. I still want to though. And certain countries I've been to in the East, those are not third world countries. I mean, perfect example is Poland. My friends always said never visit Poland. It's dirty. It's disgusting. You have like criminality like skyrocketing. And I went to Poland, and it's not the case. It's not
Hmm.
true. I even have Polish friends which tell me that every day it's not true. And that's kind of
I
the
hear
level
I
of
hear a lot of
absurdity.
good things about Poland. Yeah, but it's true that expectations and reality can sometimes be very
Yeah,
different.
that's why I say proof of work. Don't trust, verify. Always do. Always create your own image. I mean, if we would just listen to people blindly, I mean, how do we know if that what they're telling us is even the truth? How do we know that the news what they're telling us is even the truth? I mean, we have so many news outlets which were paid by USAID to lie and spread like left-wing propaganda stuff, and we always believe them, right? How do we know that what people generally are telling us in the news is true, right? And once you make your own image, it's always different because when you wake up, it's like blah, it's like explosion in your head, or like have I, or you ask yourself, did I really not see this? Was I that blind? Or was I just living like in a bubble or in a world of my own? But yeah, sorry if I'm making this too long, but But for me, that's most important. Always see it yourself and then make your own image.
Totally. So you're still a young guy. What do you see kind of
Yeah.
next for yourself in terms of your career and what you're trying to do, the projects you're trying to work on?
I would like to create my own fashion brand where I can pay with, or where people can pay with Bitcoin or crypto, but also still fiat, right? Because we still live in a fiat standard, and sometimes it's not always easy to implement crypto or Bitcoin in like paying methods. I mean, now it is, but you still have to watch some regulations, right? No, and but yeah, I would like to do my own fashion brand, and I'm currently on. I'm currently working on that, but it's still a long way to go. It's not easy. You need to see shipment wise, website wise, and then who's going to produce your clothes, and then all that stuff. But yeah, that would be like one of my main goals to focus on for like the next 2.5 years, maybe. And yeah, otherwise, if that doesn't work out, I just keep on going as I did like for like the last 1.5 years with my podcast, with conferences, and but yeah.
Cool. And as we get to wrapping up, what do you recommend to people as being, the best first steps for orange pilling and getting more involved in crypto? Should people, get a wallet and start asking to be paid in crypto, or what advice would you have for people?
There are some good since I mean, back then in 2010-ish, 13-ish, you pretty much needed like an IT background, in my opinion, to understand Bitcoin, or
Hmm.
a maths background in a sense. But nowadays we have like so many good books, like the Bitcoin Standard by oh Saifedean. Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't remember the word, the name. But we have like so many good books, like the Bitcoin Standard, or read the white paper, or generally listen to podcasts like that one that you have or that I have. And I would always recommend download like wallets first, like Wallet of Satoshi, because that's the simplest, and then start sending some sats, start gaining experience, start, buying Bitcoin, like a small amount, like let's say $50, and then see how you can send that from one wallet to the other. Like it's all
Hmm.
about the experience. And I would always tell people to not get too complex, to not complicate things, to just start simple and then, step by step. But yeah, if they want to read books or listen to podcasts, they can do that.
Okay. Wallet of Satoshi, read the white paper. That makes sense. Random question. Are you staking your Bitcoin or do you just like let it sit?
I'm hodling my Bitcoin, so I just buy Bitcoin each month and then send it to my wallet. But I'm not
Okay, so
staking, no.
no staking. So you're not making any interest on your Bitcoin.
No.
Okay. There's ways to do that, right? To stake in like a relatively safe way.
Yeah, I think so, but I haven't actually had a lot of experience with that, and I still need to do some research on that as well. But I don't stake my Bitcoin because
Yeah, me too.
I
Me
actually
too.
never wanted to. But if I can just read a few articles about that, and then there you go. I know how to do it. But
Yeah, it's good to get some cash flow, some sat flow.
yeah, some sats for. But yeah,
Okay.
maybe also one more thing I would advise people to is that Bitcoin is not crypto and crypto is not Bitcoin, because that's why I also through this whole podcast I always said Bitcoin and crypto. I didn't say Bitcoin slash crypto, or Bitcoin with crypto. I always said Bitcoin and crypto because for me Bitcoin and crypto is like something completely different.
Hmm.
Bitcoiners will understand it. Some of the crypto guys will like, oh, what are you talking about? That's nonsense. But yeah, and maybe also to to that Bitcoin is not crypto and crypto is not Bitcoin. Maybe that's also, for me at least, that was also important when explaining like Bitcoin and crypto to my friends and family and certain people in my life. But
Yes, sir. Any final message that you'd like to share with the audience?
stack sats and stay humble in a sense. that's like my final statement. So stack sats and stay humble.
Love it. Cool. Well, this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Our guest today, Nomad Podcast, Janis or Janis. How do you pronounce it?
Janis, but you can say Janis. It's fine. That's how Americans actually say it.
Janis, thanks for coming on. The Bitcoin family, Nomad Podcast. The link in the description. You guys can check out their stuff, and hopefully I'll do a guest appearance on your podcast at some point soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. And for the audience, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this. Leave a review. Check out mylatinlife.com as well for more information. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Ciao for now.